Commissioner meeting for March the 1st. Reverend Bruce Smith. Bruce Miller, I'm sorry, I done messed up the start. Mr. Bruce Miller from Hickory Grove Baptist Church will bring the invocation, and Mr. Martin will lead us in pledge allegiance.
Let's pray. Gracious God and Father, it's a privilege to be here. It's a privilege to pray for these commissioners, Lord. And Lord, I know not everybody understands the sacrifice they make, the work and the hours they put in, the calls they get. And I just pray you bless them and you help people to appreciate them, respect them. And Lord, I pray for them to have wisdom tonight as they seek to carry out business in a way that honors you and serves everyone in this county. And Lord, let's bless them and keep them, protect them, and use them. And may they not only make wise decisions, but serve as examples that our young ones can look up to and know what it means to serve. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Mr. Bruce Miller, let me give you this token, county coin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming and taking time out of your busy schedule.
Privilege to be here.
Thank you, sir. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
Mr. Chairman, consent item 2G mentioned about a business agreement should be attached. I didn't see the attachment on 2G, unless it was sent out later by email.
That's it's been going on for years and years and years, but we can get it to you.
And I agree. Mr. Chair, I agree. I do not see anything. So, I want to vote on it. Can we move it?
You make a motion, take it off the agenda if you like.
I'll make a motion to remove it. Item G.
Motion by Dr. Fieldman to remove item G. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? You know, parks are getting ready to open up, and if you didn't get the agenda, I wish you would have called Mr. Martin or Ms. Marie and got a copy of it so we can move forward with some of the county business. Marie?
Well, can I ask Mr. Chair, excuse me, can we just move it down and he can talk about it?
He's not here, Dr. Fieldman. I don't reckon. Okay, we're okay. Ms. Marie?
Mr. Peterson?
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
No.
Mr. Brett?
No.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
No.
Mr. Hester?
No.
Mr. McGill?
No.
Dr. Mungowens?
Yes.
Mr. Cogdale?
Yes.
It remains on the agenda, 5-4. Any others? I entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Mr. Bullock made the motion, second by Mr. Gillespie. Any discussion? Ms. Marie?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Brett?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungowens?
No.
Mr. Cogdale?
Yes.
Okay. Consent items are approved. Item 3 is individual delegation week to address the commissioners.
Ms. Annie Price?
Ms. Price, please come forward.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, other board members, Mr. Martin. My name is Minnie Price, and I'm here to make a statement about charitable donation. For over 10 years, my nonprofit organization, which is Bladen County Public Project Incorporated, and several other nonprofit organizations have received charitable donations from the county. We accepted the amount given and no one complained. I'm sure you all have heard that old saying that one bad apple will spoil the whole bunch. Well, because Commissioner George Michael Cargill has a personal vendetta against me, he is trying to spoil one of the many good things for everyone that this county is doing to help its citizens. This program was instituted before George Michael Cargill became the county commissioner, and I hope that this board will not let him destroy it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Mr. Reed? Item 4 is matters of interest, Commissioner. Anyone have anything?
Yeah, I got one thing.
All right, Mr. Cogdell.
Could you clear up with Ms. Price, or have Mr. Martin send her some kind of notification that nothing has happened to charitable contributions, but we have figured out what would be the most feasible way to distribute those contributions. And further, Evangelist, God bless her.
No, I will
God
not.
have her here.
I will not do that. We're going to talk about that in the bottom of the agenda. I will not do that. Anyone else? Anyone else? Item 5, net revenue department, Mr. Nate Davis.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a property that was foreclosed by the county in 2019, and here tonight, an offer was of $2,500 was placed February 17th. Investment to the county was, investment to the county was not $2,500, it was actually $3,600. That's a misprint. The taxpayer requested the board to please consider approving the lower bid amount. So the county expense was $3,600, and the bid was $2,500. Sorry about that.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bullock.
I offer motion that we do not accept the bid.
Second. Motion by Mr. Bullock and second by Mr. Gillespie, do not accept the bid. Any discussion?
Reason being, with the county, we have a net loss of $1,100.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungowens?
Yes.
Mr. Cogdale?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6, emergency service, Mr. Nathan Dallas, Director.
Good evening. Come before you tonight to consider awarding hazard mitigation grant program Florence expedited acquisitions program demolition services to the low bidder, Mr. D.G. Jackson.
Motion by Mr. Britt, second by Mr. Bullock. Any discussion?
Yes, I do apologize, Mr. Dallas.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
tried to send you an email today, but I checked, it didn't go, it was not delivered. On one of those, on number 3, the lowest bidder was really, was it not 3, hold on. The lowest bidder was Mr. Corbett Cleaning on the 4th one.
Yes, ma'am. But these were bidded out as a total package, all 4 properties, and D.G. Jackson was the lowest bidder in total.
All 5? All
Yes, ma'am.
5, okay, thank you.
Mr. Dallas, where is this located, D.T. Jackson?
There's one, the Ivanhoe area, Kelly area in the county. These are part of the expedited acquisitions.
I mean, the company, where the company is located?
Oh, did you? He's located here, Bladen
Okay,
County.
all right.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungowens?
Yes.
Mr. Cogdale?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Also wanted to mention one thing too. I know it's not on the agenda, but Mr. Martin asked me to mention it. Got a little bit of good news. We learned late Friday afternoon. We were approved for the stormwater drainage money study late Friday afternoon, or it would have been on the agenda if we got it earlier. But we were awarded a total of $1,149,750. So that will be on the agenda for next morning.
Yes, sir. Item 7, Health Department, Dr. Terry Duncan.
It was an exciting day. But we are so much better off in Bladen County on March the 1st than we were on January the 1st. So some exciting numbers tonight. But first of all, let's go to the approving part-time temporary RN positions. These would be COVID RNs. As in your packet, they would be just like the other two that we had hired.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Britt, second by Mr. Gillespie. Any discussion?
Just got a question, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Duncan, as part of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee that we're in, are we doing any diversity recruiting in this area?
We will entertain anybody that applies with us.
Okay, so...
Right now, it's just hard to find part-time people.
Yeah. I'll see what I can help you with that.
Mr. Reed?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungolins?
Yes.
Mr. Cogdale?
Mr. Cogdale?
So our COVID numbers, as of today, in North Carolina, there were 862,170 positives from the beginning, with 11,254 deaths, 819,839 recovered, with 1,319 in the hospital, and a 5.5 positivity rate. In Bladen County, we had 2,941 positive cases with 50 active. Remember, we were approaching that 400 mark in January. 40 deaths, 2,851 recovered, 5 hospitalized, and the positivity rating of 7.1. When we met 2 weeks ago, we were a red county, and we now are a yellow county. To be a yellow county, you have to have positivity ratings less than the 8 to 10%. So some of our neighboring counties, or at least one of them, is still in the orange, and we've done a lot of work. The citizens and residents and everybody working on this have done a lot of work to help us get to yellow. We have done at least 25,500 tests. We continue to test Monday through Friday for the free testing at the health department, and that contract has been extended through June. The vaccines in the county, I'm excited to say that as of today's reporting, we had given close to 5,500 doses. Now that's what the state reports. We've given some more. Again, remember it takes a couple of days for it to get there. But that 16.36% of the residents in Bladen County have received at least one dose, with 9.87% receiving a second dose. Of those, 64.7% were Caucasian and 33.4% African American. Remember, we concentrated on the age 65 and over prior to last week when we had the teachers, educators, school staff added. We had given almost 82% of the vaccines were to that age 65 and older. Since we've added the teachers and support staff in the school system, it's now running about 75%, which is to be expected. We know that of our county, again, the vaccines have become a little bit easier to get. We actually in the health department had devoted Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week to our schools, including the public school, the charter schools, the private schools, the daycares, and we feel like we've made a lot of progress there. In fact, if there's somebody that wants a vaccine that is any of, in that area, if they please call me, because we haven't been, we've given the vaccines to those that we've been notified of. So, Mr. Bullock had asked last time that we look at the deaths, and as of right now, 52.5% are African American. The positive cases, the 25 to 49 age group continues to be the highest at 37.6% of the cases, followed by the 50 to 60 age group at 22.2%. Of interest to all of us is the school age group, and it continues to be in the 12.4% range, so we're standing in that 10 to 12. As far as genders, our female are ahead of our males at 53.9. At one time they were just about even. Our African Americans are 25.8 and Caucasian 47.3.
Mr. Chair, I just have one comment, or Dr.
Yes, ma'am.
You looked at the numbers of deaths for African American plus
52.5.
52.5.
and they actually, we make up what percent of the county?
The county is 34.0.
Which shows that the death rate is higher than the expect for the population. Any idea why?
Well, you know, the African American population has many comorbidities. So when we think about high blood pressure, cardiac disease, diabetes, I would have to pull the data on that, but that is certainly one indicator of COVID and not doing well once you.
So it's a health issue that contributes to that.
Correct.
I think we have looked at that twice and asked about that proclamation for that reason. And I think, Mr. Chair, we felt that it was not, I guess at that time, it may not have been evident that the people of color, black and brown people, were at risk, higher risk, probably due to those comorbidities. So I'm asking that we take a look at that again, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment. I was telling Terry prior to the meeting, once again, so many people, older people, have just been singing y'all's praises at the health department for how well y'all are doing things and reaching out to people. I have a comment at least 2 or 3 every day. And I let them know, obviously, so a lot of times I know you probably don't, hopefully y'all get a lot of thank yous, but thank y'all for the job you're doing. I know it's not easy, and I know y'all care for everybody that walks in there, so we do appreciate it.
So, your number, does that include the hospital and the Commonwealth and all that?
Yes.
So you're 16, is that, 16%, 55 out of 34,000?
Yes, that's pretty good compared to the rest of the counties. When you look at some of our surrounding counties, they're not up to the 10% even on the first basis. And again, it's limited. This is a prime indication too, where the census is important. When you look at your doses, or we're allocating doses in part by population. So the census, again, comes into real important part here.
There's a lot of statistics we talked about racial makeup and age and things. We've so concentrated on the effect that COVID's had on the people who've gotten it and recovered, those things most at risk. Saturday I stood and preached a funeral of a 12-year-old little girl who on her 12th birthday chose to take her life. And I think, it's not healthy for the children not to be in schools, not to be playing ball, not to be living their life. It's not healthy to wear masks the rest of our lives. It is dehumanizing. And I guess want to be on record that there's a lot of things that statistics some sense of normal. What it's worth, not 2 cents.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say one thing. I'd like to thank Dr. Duncan for accepting my invitation to be on the Zoom, what was it, Tuesday, Friday? Thursday. We had a Zoom meeting, the North Carolina Association of Black County Officials had a Zoom meeting regarding the virus in North Carolina, and she accepted my invite, and I appreciate that.
Okay. Item 8, Airport Appeal Board, Mr. Tom Martin has requested to be on that board. Get a motion?
Motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. McGill, second by Mr. Rodney Hester. Any discussion? Ms. Marie?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungolens?
Yes.
Mr. Cogdale?
Yes.
Okay, item B is Division of Aging, and from the Division of Aging, their agency's appointment was Sonia Melvin. We just need to,
Motion to approve.
Mr. Bullock made the motion, second by Mr. Britt. Any discussion?
That's just to replace the one, but we're gonna repoint, she's on there already. I think Sonia, the guy is coming on, the other person.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Still need to replace Mr. Scott.
Who are-
Got to replace Ms. Gagnon too. She wants to walk.
That's right. Yeah.
So, anybody got it?
Little Marie, motion for Ms. Sonia Melvin.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungolens?
Yes.
Mr. Cogdale?
Yes.
Okay, so that still leaves an open slot on there for next meeting to replace Mrs. Sandra Guyton. Okay? Someone needs to bring a name. Next, March 15th, will be Division of Aging 1, Beaver Management. Mr. Cameron McGill has agreed to take that, I think. If it's okay with the board, we'll vote next meeting. This town planning 1, Southeast Economic 3, there's recommendations from Southeast and Economic Development, who they will put back on there. Any questions? Item 10, Mr. Greg Martin.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to briefly review the calendar with you for March and April. This Thursday, the 4th of March at 12 noon, the JCPC virtual meeting will be held. Next Monday, the 8th at 5 p.m., the Health and Human Services Advisory Committee meets. On Tuesday, the 9th at 6:30 p.m., the Bladen County Substance Use Disorder meeting will take place at Bladen Community College. Also, we just received notice from the Soil and Water Conservation Office this morning that next Wednesday, the 10th at 8 a.m., the Beaver Management Advisory Committee will meet.
When is that?
The next, the 10th at 8 a.m.
Where will that be there?
I think in the auditorium in the Palmetto Building. On the 15th, that Monday at 12 noon, the Economic Development Commission will meet at the airport. That evening at 5 p.m., there's a special meeting here regarding the upcoming year budget. The board has a regular meeting at 6:30. And on the 24th, 25th, and 26th, the NACO legislative goals virtual conference.
Mr. Martin,
Yes, sir.
on March the 9th, is that at the new building at BCC?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Moving over to April, on Thursday the 1st at 12 noon, JCPC virtual meeting will take place. Offices will be closed on Friday the 2nd in observance of Good Friday and the Easter holiday. On Monday the 5th at 8 a.m., there's a prayer service here in the Superior Courtroom. The board meets that evening at 6:30. On Monday the 12th at 5 p.m., the Health and Human Services Advisory Committee meets. And on the 19th, the board has a regular meeting at 6:30. At our last meeting, a committee did meet last week to discuss a plan for funding nonprofit agencies in future budget years. The commissioners who attended that and participated were included Commissioner Cogdell, Commissioner Gillespie, Commissioner McNeil, and Chairman Peterson. We discussed the important point that whether or not a local government may give a grant to a private entity does not depend on the type of private entity requesting the funds. Instead, and this is important, it depends on the purpose for which the funds ultimately will be spent. And a good example we discussed, and I'll share with you, is, this comes from an article in the School of Government. For instance, a local government may contract with a religious organization to fund a community festival that is open to all citizens, because the local government may support such an activity directly. The county can spend funds on that type of thing if they want to. However, the local government could not appropriate funds to that same religious organization to fund a new roof on its building, because the local government does not have authority to spend money directly on this type of project. So the issue going forward we really need to focus on is not as much the agency, the name of the agency or which agency it is, as much as we do the purpose of their use of funds. Therefore, we've added a proposed statement in the policy that reads, the appropriation must be used for a public purpose, which the county is authorized to carry out in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 153A-449. Also, on the grant request form, we request applicants to provide a brief narrative description of services authorized by this general statute that carry out a public purpose to be provided with the county funds. So, and we'll probably likely do a cover letter that clearly explains the need for them to pay close attention to this. Additionally, we have included for your consideration a newly proposed nonprofit grant agreement, which will be entered into with recipient agencies each year. And a key provision that has been added for additional accountability is the requirement that grantees submit a written report detailing the use of expended funds. And so that will be toward the end of the budget year. And that kind of speaks to, we're not necessarily, this is not an audit, of course, but at least it is some form of, requesting some form of accountability.
Yeah.
And that's certainly for your consideration. During last week's meeting, there was discussion regarding the approach to be used in determining which organizations will be funded. The concept discussed would include staff reviewing applications in an effort to determine which applications propose to use funds for an allowable public purpose. Board members would then review applications and submit each member would submit your number one agency to receive funding. So theoretically, 9 organizations could receive approximately $700 each based on the level of funding appropriated in these years. That's really the extent of the discussion. As I recall it, I'll be glad to address any questions or commissioners who participated would like to share information.
The only thing I heard, I thought was 750.
Well, it may be 750, and when I multiplied 9 times 750, it came up a little bit in that ballpark.
I think it was 750, and
Okay.
it still left us $50 to cover.
Okay. And that's a good point. We talked about maybe including some type of language like that on the application, but then we started thinking, well, what if only 6 apply? Then it would be more than 750, so yeah.
Yes, that was my question.
Yeah. So, I know this is an action item on the agenda, and it's certainly up to you all. And there's no rush if you want to take time to consider it at the next meeting, how we proceed.
Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Cogdell made a motion to approve. Mr. McGill seconded. Any discussion? Ms. Bray?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Dr. Mungowens?
Yes.
Mr. Cogdell?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Okay, thank you. Moving to item C, at the last meeting, Mr. Cogdell asked about the grant application for, as I understand it, for the truck driver training center. And just to remind you all, the county applied for an EDA grant for a large sum of money in excess of $4 million. and a Golden Leaf grant for $800,000, which would serve as the 20% required local match. The county was, and both of these were competitive in grant application processes. The county was awarded the $800,000 from Golden Leaf. However, with 2 attempts, the EDA application was not funded in either round. And just to put it in perspective, Bladen County, North Carolina is in the Atlanta region, which includes 7 states. Those 7 states submitted, or from those 7 states, $840 million in requests were submitted, and $90 million was funded. 750 million was not. And again, unfortunately, Bladen County's application was not funded. So I talked to Mr. Cogdill about this, and just to clarify for those of you particularly who may recall a discussion a year or so ago, the county had committed to provide the match as part of the EDA application, but since it wasn't funded, then that's, I guess, a non-issue at this point. Also, an important point is we wanted to know from Golden Leaf if we could use the $800,000 toward another project in the county. Because that process was a unique process, it's called a community-based grants initiative. We were competing with other counties, and because our particular project was our application, we couldn't change the use of those funds to apply toward another project because it had gone through a larger process. So you all may have seen that letter that was submitted back to Chairman at the time, Mr. Britt, from Scott Hamilton, indicating that. So I just want to reiterate that. And Mr. Cogdill, that's my understanding of your, if you have any questions or if anybody does, I'll be glad to address them.
Thank you, Bruce. Mr. Martin. Individual delegates wish to address the commissioners. Matters of interest to commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I just, being the new guy, I don't know how to sometimes respond to questions and calls I get. Some of the folks in the Hammond, Grove area, a number of them have called about the condition of 210 between Garland and the Cumberland County line. I know for years, I'm 21 years in Bladen County, and it's always kind of been a joke. You can always tell when you come into Bladen County on the country roads, it's a flood, and then the roads get really bad. I'm kind of confused as to why state-maintained roads do sometimes get drastically worse when you come into Bladen County. So I don't know if there's any appropriate answer for me to give folks when they call me.
We'll send a letter up.
Yeah, I'll contact you.
All right, thank you.
If I may make a comment on that, I was amazed at a meeting that we had, I think it was last year before that, with Ron Taylor's place. The state indicated Bladen County had overall the best roads in the state. I found out along that was the state made.
Chairman, the state, when they pave a road, it goes on the calendar for something like 10+ years before we come back and pave it again unless it gets so bad that they have to come in. 242 and 131, awful, it's years away, but they're moving it up to September to pave those roads. So we'll send that letter out there.
Okay, that's great.
Then you can, when we get a response back, you can forward the response.
Yeah, I think some of their concerns were that the roads were much worse because of the hurricanes and the flooding, and wondered if any of that money went out. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'm sure you've seen that there's some road closed signs on 242. They're getting ready to do some work out there.
They're replacing the culvert.
Yeah.
Right there at the dance studio. Okay, anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to approve.
Bullock, second by Mr. Britt.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Dr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Mr. McGill? Dr. Mungoins?